In the previous part, we covered the almost paradise-like state Belgium had reached under the rule of Napoleon Bonaparte. However, now we will see the cruel end to this brief chapter of hope that the Belgians had experienced, as well as the last hope to return to this previous prosperity with the 100 Days campaign. After facing several military defeats and mounting pressure from the European powers, Napoleon Bonaparte was forced to abdicate. Originally he didn't want to, but Marshal Ney and other members of Napoleon's staff pressured him into it. Seeing no other options left, Napoleon abdicated on April 6 of 1814. As news of his abdication reached Belgium, a region that had been part of Napoleon's France, a wave of sorrow and distress swept across the populace. Napoleon had managed to win the hearts of many Belgians during his rule, primarily due to his progressive policies, which brought about significant socio-economic changes and cultural integration. The Belgian citizens, who had long been under the domination of various foreign powers, saw Napoleon as a liberator and embraced his rule with enthusiasm. Now that liberator was gone, and the deposers were the same tyrants that they had lived under before. After Napoleon's departure and the subsequent abdication in 1814, Belgium experienced significant unrest and turmoil. The Belgian populace found themselves under the rule of King William I of the United Kingdom of the Netherlands, a monarch who sought to reintegrate the southern provinces, including Belgium, into a larger Dutch state. This attempted reunification sparked discontent and resistance among the Belgian population, who had grown accustomed to the progressive policies and relative autonomy they enjoyed under Napoleon's rule. One of the primary sources of unrest stemmed from the political and cultural divide between the Belgian provinces and the northern Dutch provinces. The Belgian region had historically been more closely associated with French culture and traditions. Even the Dutch-speaking Flanders was culturally more akin to France than to the Netherlands. While the northern provinces were predominantly Prussian in culture, King William I's efforts to impose Dutch as the official language and centralize power in Brussels further exacerbated this linguistic and cultural divide. The Belgian populace had experienced a sense of self-governance under Napoleon's rule, and they were not eager to return to being subjects of a distant and less sympathetic monarch. The loss of freedoms and rights they had enjoyed during the Napoleonic period fueled a growing desire for autonomy and independence. They yearned for a government that would respect their distinct cultural identity and grant them more control over their own affairs. This was the beginning of an idea of an independent Belgium. Here, for the first time, Belgian independence was seriously considered. So quickly, many deemed it impossible, as its territories were desired by Prussia, France, Austria, the Netherlands, and Great Britain. Apart from cultural and political grievances, the Belgian people also faced economic challenges. The reintegration with the northern Dutch provinces disrupted trade patterns and economic ties that had developed during the French period. The economic policies imposed by the Dutch government were often biased in favor of the northern provinces, leaving the southern regions at a disadvantage. It was also very obvious to see that the Dutch ruling class was nowhere near as bright as Napoleon was. While Napoleon was a genius of politics, economics and war, the Dutch were masters of none. The Belgians considered the Dutch to be incompetent. They blamed the likes of Great Britain for putting them in a situation where Belgium was conjoined with the Netherlands. As tensions escalated, resistance movements and underground networks began to form in Belgium, seeking either independence or a return to Napoleon's rule. The Belgians, who yearned for independence, aimed to break away from the larger Dutch state and establish their own sovereign nation. On the other hand, there were loyalists and Napoleonic sympathizers, who saw Napoleon as their savior and hoped for his triumphant return. But surely such a thing was impossible. Even those who sympathized with Napoleon joined forces with those who sought to become independent. If a return to Napoleon's rule was not possible, the next best thing was to be independent. When Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France in March of 1815, the Belgian populace was caught in an explosion of joy. Belgian civilians had restored vigor, and the soldiery was ready to fight for Napoleon again. The 100 Days campaign witnessed widespread support for Napoleon's cause, with many Belgians joining his ranks and offering military support in the hopes of regaining their cherished liberties. Belgian civilians had even helped Napoleon's army stay fed on the campaign, though the contribution was minimal, as the Belgian population had become significantly poorer again when Napoleon left. In the span of 20 years, Belgium has went from an averagely wealthy but oppressed region under Habsburg rule to impoverished again under the rule of the Directory, to extraordinarily wealthy in Napoleon's gentle care, and then back down to impoverished again under the tyranny of the Dutch. The only time they ever enjoyed economic stability was under Napoleon, and if they hoped to see a return to such stability, they would have to fight for it. They had one last hope, to the south of Brussels. Thank you for watching this video. If you wish to be updated when I post the next part of the series, or you wish to see more content like this, you should consider subscribing to this channel.